With us today is Bryant Van Weerd. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing the best I can do today.
That's all we can do every day, man. Just keep one foot in front of the other. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So everyone gets a little proper introduction. Like I said, our guest today is Brian Van Weerd. He's a freelance videographer, specializing in craft beverage industry for full pour media, based in Wisconsin. He's a marketing expert for the craft beverage industry. He's an outdoor enthusiast, enjoys camping, hiking, and snow sports. Roughly 6 months of homebrew experience, so you're definitely the newest and youngest to the hobby, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of what I have for you for your little introduction. Is there anything else I missed?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, full pour. We do a lot of beverage work, and have started to kind of expand into sort of beverage adjacent. I'll launch into that here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to be on.
So I am kind of curious. So I guess we can kind of just dive in a little bit. So can you walk me through what is the marketing side of the craft beverage industry?
Sure. So I started out doing craft beverage specific marketing back
Mhm.
in 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Um, And a lot of the work that I've done through the years, it really started kind of being almost a weekend warrior. I had my full-time job, but was doing weekend warrior work, creating videos for craft breweries, just really wanting to mix what I love doing with what I love drinking. Yeah, I lived in Denver at the time, and they've been having they were especially back then in their craft beer heyday. So it was all around the place, and acquired two different clients that I was just kind of creating, whether it's paid ads or just promotional material for them, kind of helping them tell their story.
Mhm.
Um, that morphed into managing social media is very, very adjacent to that,
Mhm.
because it's just the content creation side. So really, my craft beer marketing world started out with a lot of social media marketing. We've done branding projects or label design, label
Mhm.
redesigns, website
Oh,
redesigns.
wow.
Now things have kind of evolved in a way.
Mhm. So you said you started 2021. Like, so how did that's kind of like a risky time to start into anything like during COVID. Like everything was shut down. Not a whole lot was going on. So was Colorado not on a shutdown per se? Because where I'm at in Tennessee, we were shut down at
Yeah, they were.
all. Okay.
Definitely were. It was, I was again, it was side work, so I undercut myself disgustingly, disgustingly
Mhm.
low for what I should have been charging. But I had a personal relationship with these two breweries. Knew them, respected them.
Mhm.
Really, the majority of what we did kicked off in 2021. Honestly, by the end of 2021, maybe 22, if I recall, COVID wasn't over, but it was definitely like we were we were kind of all ready to move on
Yeah,
from that.
almost definitely.
Moving out here to Wisconsin was a different story. A year or two later, COVID was still definitely a thing, but yeah, it was a difficult time. But I
Mhm.
do recall my very first client, the one of the two I mentioned, actually gained market share because of all these other breweries weren't getting on the shelves. They weren't creating beer, so they actually captured a lot of that market share,
Mhm.
just by being proactive, by being
Mhm.
active in their self distribution or their just distribution efforts. So depending on the strategy and how scrappy some of these folks are, they can kind of see those as more of an opportunity than a downside.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, so the breweries that you're talking about, are they distributed throughout the United States, or are they pretty much just local to Colorado itself?
Pretty local. I've
Uh,
in the time since then have dealt
mhm.
with other breweries that have national distribution and other, but those specific two, yeah, it was very condensed to the Denver market, the kind of local kind of Colorado market. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. No, that's pretty cool. So what if you don't mind sharing, can you tell us which, brands you've worked with on the national level?
On the national level, so Weldworks Brewing, they're out of Denver, or not out of Denver, but they're up in Greeley, but obviously big in Denver. They weren't necessarily one of the first to the haze craze,
Mhm.
but they definitely, their Juicy Bits beer was one of the first, I would say. Haven't looked into that specifically, but they, again, talking about market share, they grabbed a lot of that market share and hearts and minds just through their Juicy Bits releases. And I can even get Juicy Bits out here in Madison, Wisconsin. They have those relationships all over the country. As far as other, I'm trying to think, just rack my brain here for other, mostly what I deal with is kind of more of a statewide regional
Okay.
distro footprint.
Mhm.
It's just how, if your brewery's not producing 30,000 barrels a year, it's hard to keep up with demand in Tennessee and Florida if you are only making 20,000 or 16,000 barrels a year. So the majority of the clients that I have worked with over the years, have a definitely statewide, but almost kind of reaching into Minnesota or Illinois, if I'm here in
Right.
Wisconsin.
Right, right. No, I mean, that's pretty interesting overall. Like, you don't think so. I guess where I'm at, I'm in a small little niche area. I'm in the Tri Cities of Tennessee, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with or not, but you may have heard of like Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in that region of
Okay.
like I said, Northeast Tennessee. So maybe a population of 1,000, excluding all the cities and everything like that. So not a large population of people, and it could be wrong. I'm sure somebody will correct me. Whenever I was down here for marketing of my local breweries, it is usually the people that own the brewery themselves. They're constantly pushing to like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. They're doing everything on their own. And I'm sure it's just to save money because this region overall we have dipped. I've seen quite a few breweries shut down over the last couple of years, but I feel like that's just the trend, and we'll definitely get into that here in the Olympics. I'm kind of curious on your take of it being a insider outsider at the same time, right? So you have like more behind the scenes than I actually have. I just have my buddies that actually own these places, watch what they go through.
Yeah.
But that being said, you say you shot a video for the Brewers Association, which, from my understanding, is one of the largest homebrew groups in in Wisconsin. So, like, what did you do for them, and how did that conversation even come about?
Yeah. So when I did that, I shot a campaign for the American Homebrew Association, and that was when they were underneath the BA, the Brewers Association. They've since split off. Actually, I believe it was later on that same year, if not, right away in the next year. They separated and are now two separate entities. But a lot of the work I do, I kind of mentioned that beer adjacent work. Some of that is on the supplier side, your hops folks and
Mm,
the
mm,
companies that make big stainless tanks, etc. Um, Gosh, it was probably 4 years ago. I got hooked up with the creative director at the Brewers Association, and really was started pitching my video services to him. It was funny. It was just actually me sitting in my basement after about two beers, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just reach out to Luke. See, might as well, send it off." And he is super cool guy. We met. Obviously, the BA is located in and around Denver, and I was there at the time, so we went to Chain Reaction Brewing and had a couple beers and talked it over. Long story short, I've shot go to a brewery all day and shoot content. A big
okay,
push that they were doing at the time was to push this AHA, this home brewing uh, content that basically I'll shoot for like a half day or a whole day, and then basically just ship them all of this content that they use internally. They use it on social, they put it on LinkedIn, email, website, whatever. Um, at the time, I had moved to Wisconsin where I live now, and I was working marketing for a local brewery and got hooked up with this org called the the McFarland Hop Slingers. Is one of the coolest names for a homebrew club I've heard. I just knew them through this other client I was working with
okay,
because they had a
yeah,
homebrew competition, etc. So I was like, let me get a hold of them. He needs homebrewing. The BA needs homebrewing content, and they were super hospitable, as most Wisconsin folk are. They coordinated three different homebrew days that were basically happening in conjunction within maybe a half mile or a mile from one another. So they timed it out to where there was a super stripped down setup that's, one kettle. And then I went into some guy's basement and it looked like Breaking Bad down there. He's got his whole room and, all the spike brewing equipment and,
Yeah.
he's a big
Oh, the
computer.
Nano
He's got,
Brewery.
oh God. Oh, exactly. Right. Right. Like when he moves out of that basement, like when he moves out of that house, I don't know what what he's going to do. Um, so just runs the gamut of just really, really involved and then like super, super basic. There was three guys boiling kettles in their garage, eating meat and watching their game. So that provided a really good sort of cross section of content that I then turned around and the BA repurposed for any of their kind of internal, external marketing um, activities. And I would say that would probably be one of the more fun and involved days I've had shooting beer
Well,
content.
yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, just seeing the different ways of making beer is pretty phenomenal. I'm in Kingsport, Tennessee. Have I think things called like a maker day or something like that. And one of the homebrew clubs I belong to, we talked about doing something like that. Like one person would do like an extract kit, one would do
Mm,
like let's see, what would be the next step up? Extract to maybe all grain,
all
do
grain,
an all
right?
grain with like a mash tun, do like the 3-tier system, just kind of show like the different ways to make beer. You can be as simple as you want. The hobby itself can be, I mean, you could spend $200 and go to Northern Brewer and buy like a kit and get started, and all the way up to like you said, like I had like a nano brewery in his
Right.
basement. I'm sure it was probably like $10,000 he probably spent
Yeah.
on. I think because Spike is not cheap, right? It's not, but it's good equipment overall. So I definitely want to get back to that. I thought that sounds pretty interesting. Then that probably leads into your homebrewing experience here. But I kind of want to say with the marketing side of things for a moment, if you don't mind. So from a marketing perspective, what are craft breweries doing right in 2026? I know we just started, but I guess you can kind of like 2025 as well.
Yeah, I would say the ones that are doing things right are definitely diversifying, whether that's their own product offerings,
Hmm.
trying to make their space more viable for alternative beverages, contract brewing for other brands,
Mm.
um, as well as diversifying like in the tap room. I have a contractor employee who actually lives out in Grand Rapids, Michigan, across the pond from me, across the lake from me. And she was talking to me about this brewery in town that just came out with a whole new. He's Puerto Rican, as I recall, the owner, and just came out with just a bunch of new like a birria pizza and all of these different like really cultural foods. And I'm thinking, I'm going like, man, you don't often hear about breweries who are, you got your burgers, you got your maybe your tacos. We have a client, I mainly work with them and they do really good burritos and tacos. And that is actually on their Google uh business page, their Google Maps. More people find them for searching for restaurants than searching for breweries. And their kitchen could stand by itself. Um so I would say that's one of the things that breweries are doing right. The breweries that are succeeding. There needs to be a lot of think outside the box. I'll call it. How many bingo nights can people really go to? How many trivia nights can people really go to? Um, it's all about that. That brewery I was just talking about with the tacos and burritos, they're getting into distribution, and came to me last week. We had a meeting talking about what can we do, outside of the brewery at some of these retail locations or, tap room locations that serve our products. Hey, let's find some off the wall ideas. Let's do something that's just beyond again bingo and trivia and so excuse me and things like that. So
Hmm.
um, it does take a bit of thinking. It takes a bit of, kind of outside the box. Let's try something. Let's take some risks. Um, but those are the breweries that really are setting themselves apart now because it used to be, well, good beer, good atmosphere. Oh, that's what'll bring people in is good beer, good atmosphere, good service. And I mean, are you going to make are you going to make crappy beer and have bad service? You know, it's kind of like good beer, good atmosphere is the baseline now. We can't differentiate yourself based on that.
Yeah.
It's and what? How else are you, you know, how deeply do you know and lean into your brand story? This is where I can get super nerdy, you
Hmm.
know, like truly understand the brand that you are besides beer, fresh beer with fresh ingredients. Actually lean into what makes you who you are, you know, what you love, why you started this in the first place, whatever it is, it's doing that back end kind of foundational brand work and understanding where you come from. That's your differentiator a lot of the time.
Yeah, like you said, I guess I have to do quite a bit of thinking involved with that because the couple of the homebrew, or no, excuse me, the
Mhm.
craft breweries around me, I know some have shied away from having a kitchen because they didn't want to take the extra risk on top of it. Like, so they already put a risk in like buying all this equipment to get the brewery going, and I'm sure they're not profitable for at least 3, 4 years. I'd say
Right.
maybe longer sometimes. Then to throw a kitchen on top of that, like I see where they're coming from, but would you encourage a new brewery to maybe tiptoe towards maybe selling their own food just to kind of set them apart a little bit different? Because like around here, I'm not sure how it is where you're at, but around here, like we have a lot of food trucks. So you'll have like a brewery food truck, which is great because every time you go to the brewery, there's always a different food truck there. So we just get like a different experience instead of having, like you said, a burger or a burrito or whatever.
Yeah, we definitely have a fair share of those as well here in Wisconsin. Kind of circulating food trucks that will kind of come and feature themselves. You know, I will say though, um, having dedicated food is a number one way to increase your. I
Hmm,
mean, it sounds
okay.
silly. Increase your sales. You know, increase your visit length, your ticket size, and beyond just okay. Well, now we're selling food. You know, people buy more beer. You know, and that's where your margins are best in the tap room. You know, versus out in distribution. You know, food trucks have their place. Especially like you said for a brewery that simply a lot of these places don't have kitchen space, you know, or they have a pizza oven, whatever it is, and you do with that what you can. You're kind of you are kind of tied into um, the space that you occupy, but having a kitchen, having a restaurant, having you know some dedicated food definitely pays off. You know, I've seen it pay off.
Okay. So I guess it leads me into this question. Do you see trends in the craft beverage world that most consumers don't notice?
Um, that's a quite a deep question. I wouldn't say that consumers don't notice. You know, a lot of the issues or a lot of the trends, I guess I'll call them trends, but maybe negative or positive, um, are, you know, they resonate down from just general economic to political, anything and everything. I would say what I tend to hear a lot, just because I have more of that inside track, is the squeeze that some of these breweries are feeling on the raw material side. You know, how much more expensive have hops you know, have hops become? How much more expensive has malt become? You know, when I go to these industry, you know, statewide guild, the Missouri Craft Brewers Guild or the Wisconsin Brewers Guild, uh, a lot of times reps from Hopsteiner or Yakima will be there and will give you know the hop reports and these crop reports. So in terms of seeing trends, I wouldn't say I see them before they come, but I definitely see it from the other side too. I kind of see that raw materials and hear about that raw materials side that is affecting because it's really hard to pass that down to the customer if your beer is already cheap or you're kind of
Hmm.
in this market that you need to, I don't wanna say compete, but just stay competitive.
Right.
The breweries are the ones that are their margins are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So it's sad, but it's not surprising sometimes that, you know, these places do shut down, especially now.
Yeah. No, I know that's a fair point. Yeah, everything has gone up, and yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Like I said, the wife asked me one time, if I would ever open a brewery. I was like, no. I mean, only way I do it is if I won the lottery and just had money to lose. That's the only way I do it, probably myself, anyways. Because then I could be, because I like to experiment when I brew. I like to try different styles. Like I would probably have at least one house beer, but everything else would be whatever Jeremy wants to make. Yeah, so where like a lot of people have, I feel like at least four flagships, right? They usually have like some type of lager,
Right.
some type of IPAs, hazy still for pretty big, like you said earlier. So pretty hazy on the menu, and maybe a porter or stout, right? Just have a nice, just a little spread across the board. Excuse me. So I guess is there like missed opportunities that like new breweries are missing when they launch?
Missed opportunities, my mind goes right back to the marketing side, to the branding
Okay.
side. I think it is a pretty big misstep, and this is more than me being a marketing nerd. I think it's a pretty big misstep when brands, when breweries go into business and really just have a basic grip on who they are as a brewery. It can't be good beer, good atmosphere. Really knowing and understanding, again, like the brands that I have seen through the years that do succeed, and the stories kind of write themselves. Whether it's this entire brewery is based around lake life. It's just kind of like lake leisurely, or one of my first clients, they were all hobbyist or professional pilots. The guy who started it was, I don't want to say retired, but he left his engineering job at Boeing. So they were all very highly airplane based, and so they made
Mhm.
that a lot of their brand identity. So missteps and mistakes, I think, start at that foundational brand level. Not doing the footwork to really understand your unique value proposition. What sets you apart. That it's one of the things that feels really easy to skip over for folks, because I need a logo and a website, and that's it. But realistically and holistically, you need to put a lot more forethought into it.
Right. Yeah. So I guess like for me being like a YouTuber trying to get this channel to grow as well too, I feel like that's oh, I'm behind, I guess, in a way. So like I mean, so I have like all the socials I have and all I feel like I think of anyways. I'm not a spring chicken by any means. So I try to keep up with it all by myself. I try to push content constantly, trying to get my breast brand to grow. Because I thought about this podcast for probably about a year and a half before I even started.
Mm.
It was always on the back of my mind. It was just like I thought it'd be really cool to talk to individuals about. First, it was just the homebrew community. That's where I'm from. That's what I was focused on. And I think what really made me pull the trigger, um, the home brewing trend and craft beer in general has been ticking down. But if you look at it from a big wide scope, I mean, it's gone up and down throughout the decades anyway. So it's nothing really new. But I just feel like this time around, it's a lot faster, but it was also a lot faster for the craft breweries to open as well too. I feel like you're just popping up constantly. They were going under pretty quickly as well. So I was like, what could I do to help out to keep what I care for alive? Right. So I was like, well, let me start talking to people about their homebrew lives. So like, so it's not like how to homebrew, but it's about the individual that I'm talking to. Like for you, you're coming from the marketing and side of the house, which is really fascinating. Hopefully I can talk to other people in your career as well, trying to get their points of view on it as well. So from there I had a point. I'm trying to remember what my
Okay.
point was now. Um but yeah, so I totally get where people could definitely miss out on not taking those little extra steps to make sure they're well known, because there's a bunch of breweries I've been to that didn't even have a website. They was just word of mouth, and luckily they're pretty big in their region. Just the, I think, little baby steps, like you said, like getting a website going, posting some stuff on Instagram once in a while, just to kind of get yourself out there. I would think you'd be surprised how many people would be like, "Oh, I've never heard of this on this side of town. Let me go check it out." Or it's only a half-hour drive. Why don't we go over there, with the kids? And they say they have this playground. We can have a couple beers and maybe eat some food and stuff like that.
Yeah, honestly, if I had a nickel for every time a brewery or a brand owner came to me and said, we've been here for 8 years and we still get people coming in saying, I didn't know you guys were here. It is a common problem. Just the public awareness, just brand identity, identification. Again, unless you're really getting out there, pounding the pavement. I mean, ask any average Joe or Jill on the
Hmm.
street, and some of the big craft beer, say, what are some craft breweries that you know? These are going to be folks, these are going to be brands that have been in the market forever, forever, forever. Some of the more well established, your Stone Brewings of the world, your whatever it might be. These are folks who it's was that Warren Buffett thing. It's time in the market, not timing the market.
Yeah.
It's like, how long have you been dug in? Um, I think a lot of the bigger, more well-known names have had, I don't want to call it luck, but it's just timing. They were there before all of this giant explosion happened. So they were able to grab more shelf space. They were able to grab, and they're able to deepen their relationships with their distributors, and get more kind of market share that way. So, um, yeah, it's a common problem. Just the public awareness, and it's I think that's kind of what's been the question for a while, as things do start to as people start to unfortunately shutter. I believe last year or the year before was, the first year that the expansion or that the openings and closings flipped, that there were actually more closings than openings of breweries. We're definitely in a right sizing phase right now. It's not going to go away, but I think it's turning on its head, for a number of different reasons.
Have you know? This kind of question popped in my head. Have you noticed in the craft breweries around your region, they kind of pigeonhole themselves in certain styles and really kind of stick to those styles? So what I mean is like I was at a place. I'm not gonna name who they were, but I went there. All they had on their board was just IPAs. They
Hmm.
had nothing else on their board. I'm like, I'm not a huge IPA kind of guy, but I still tried them out because it was just a brewery that people said I should go try out, and I would try there. I'm like going, okay, yeah, they're IPAs. They taste like grapefruit and pine sol. Wasn't that impressed with it, right? So, I feel like those kind of breweries, to me, from where I come from, I feel like they have a little harder time appeasing to a larger crowd because they're so narrow focused. Have you run into that quite a bit?
Um, I wouldn't say quite a bit, but it's definitely a thing. My mind went to this place in Denver called Cohesion, and they're all Czech based lagers.
Mm,
They're all kind of that true to style, clean, clear, crisp. I haven't been there in a while. They likely have other, kind of crowd pleasers on their stouts and IPAs, but
mm-hmm,
Cohesion is the place that, brewers want to go because they've got clean lagers, clean pilsners. And that's kind of frankly, that's what sets them apart. So in a way, like your more limited product offerings when it comes to distribution, can actually help you. You can
mm,
narrow in on,
yeah,
okay, IPAs. So is it sports bars? Is it this, that, the other?
right.
Go into if it's mostly German, kind of there's
Mm-hmm,
a German beer house here in Wisconsin, and uh, you know that can actually help in a way too. But I do see how, to the average beer drinker, it can again feel a little pigeonholing. So
right.
a decision you have to make, but definitely make it strategically. Make it smart, beyond just we like IPA, so we're going to make it. It's why. Why are you
Right.
doing it this way? And
Mm-hmm.
actually making that part of your differentiator, instead of just we're doing it because people like IPAs.
Right. No, I definitely see that point of view for sure. I definitely well, usually what I do is when I go to like a new crap brewery I've never been to, like I always try to get like some type of lager because
Sure.
you can't hide anything in a lager, right? So where you can with like most other styles for the most part. I mean, there's a few other ones that are kind of difficult to do, but so when I go to a brewery that doesn't have a lager, it's kind of like I said, it just kind of turns me off a little bit. Like, what are you hiding a little bit? Which I also know though too, because on paper, a beer may look phenomenal, sound phenomenal until you brew it. Like, okay, it doesn't taste exactly what I thought. Now I need to add some adjuncts to it to make it sellable because I just, like you said, I just brewed 30,000 gallons of beer. I need to sell this, right? Because I don't want to throw this away because I need money. um, so if you had a crystal ball, and you could look into the future of this whole marketing side of things, where would you like it to head?
Are we focusing on full pour media, or are we just focusing on kind of the beer industry period?
Let's start with your company first, and
Sure.
then we'll jump into the other side of the house.
Yeah. So full pour, as I mentioned, we had previously done social media, previously kind of done the more uh, what is day-to-day management, month-to-month management. We're pivoting away from that, not fully, but we'll still kind of we still do offer audits and reviews of people's strategies and everything. The day-to-day stuff we're pivoting away from to more of the supplier side, to more of the video is what I got into this business to do. Everything else kind of came you know, into orbit, so to speak. So really wanting to move back into putting that emphasis on the video side, on the production side,
Gotcha.
telling these stories. I mean, a lot of what I do is around the brand storytelling, and just like a lot of interview based, really interview heavy case studies of, hey, here's
Mm,
how this product makes my brewing process easier. So that's where I would like to head, and it's where we are heading. Right now, and still serving the kind of individual brands, but also looking outward to the suppliers and the other guilds and supporting organizations as well has been really fun.
okay. So with full pour media, so do you do other beverages besides like alcohol beverages? Do you do like sports drinks or pop or anything like that? Or
Not at the moment.
not at the
It's
moment?
just been a product of the work begets other work. So it's all related to we've moved to the food and beverage world more than just beer. No sports drinks, nothing like that at the moment. The THC world is kind of on you build your castle on a swamp kind of thing. So we're looking to see how that. I mean, I think right now they are where craft beer was in '08. They're just sort of like bomb overload, everybody saturate the market kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's the new hot, sexy thing. We haven't really forayed too much into that, into that world. Um, so it's something that we're open to, definitely doing
Hmm.
more food work, definitely doing more kind of restaurants, anything like that. But right now
Oh,
I'm
that's
I'm
cool.
I'm following I'm following the beverage line because that's kind of where the motion has been for me.
Right. Yeah, Asheville, North Carolina, which is like 45 minutes from where I live, like they have I remember when that boom started with the old THC beverage, like even Wicked Weed had their own seltzer THC stuff and
Oh, well then, and
yeah.
yeah, wicked weed. It's like you got to have a THC filled with your wicked weed.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah. That is very true.
I lived
um
in Asheville for 9 years as a kid. Obviously, it was in the '90s, so way before much a
okay.
lot of the craft beer, or any of the craft beer boom, really. But yeah, I have many fond memories of restaurants that no longer exist in Asheville as a kid.
Oh, Asheville, yeah. Yeah, and as we go there, like, 'cause I've been there 20 years, so we go there, I don't know, maybe a dozen times throughout the year and stuff like that. I definitely plan on being going toward the American Homebrew Con.
Yeah.
I'm about to book my hotel room tonight, I believe, because they announced where it's going to be. Like the judging is going to be at this one hotel. Convention is going to be at the where I thought it was going to be. It's going to be basically the was it the Cherokee Center there? So trying to find hotels within that general region. Like I could just kind of walk back and forth, and I could take Uber or whatever to all the breweries and stuff like that if I want to later on. But I feel like I'm gonna have enough drink at the convention itself where I don't have to go anywhere.
That's like me at CBC. It's like I'm walking around the conference at Craft Brewers conference, excuse me, and
Hmm.
yeah, about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, all the the beer servers get wheeled out and start pouring, and then you still got 2 hours of the conference or whatever to do, and then you got the after parties, and then you got the after.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh,
all
yeah.
this craziness, and by the end, I usually need like some vitamins and a water.
Gallons of water and Gatorade to get just everything going again. Yeah, I've had a few people ask me if I was going to have like a little meet and greet. I was like, yes, I could probably do it like the day before. So I'm going to try to get there the 18th and
Sweet.
meet up with some like some YouTubers and some other people, some other guests that plan on being there, stuff like that. So I think that'd be
Nice.
probably kind of fun.
Yeah, let me know where I'll be in and around. So let me
Oh,
know.
fair enough. Yeah, I'll have to give you my number after this for sure, and we'll try to meet up somewhere. Oh, let's see. I'm trying to go through these. You've already answered quite a few of these questions, which is phenomenal. I really appreciate that. All right, so Wisconsin definitely has like a legendary brewing culture. It's fairly old as well too. Like I feel like where I come from, like in Michigan, we've had some older breweries, but a lot of them are fairly new overall. Like we got Bell's, which has been around for oh gosh, how long has Bell's been around? Quite a while.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Great beer. I can't get a whole lot of it down here. I don't know why. I get most of their stuff, but you have a hard time saying this one is a New Claris, right?
Yeah, you got it.
The cult classic,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
spotted cow. My pastor, he's from Wisconsin, so anytime he goes up there, he brings back a bunch. He gives him some
Of
money,
course.
and he brings me down some, and so I get
Of
to
course.
drink that farm ale beer. Need to do I believe there is yeast at the bottom of the bear. I think bottles. I probably should figure out how to harvest that. Try to make my own. I've not done that yet. Yeast is like you said. What I've noticed the most things going up is yeast has been the most expensive thing
Okay.
from my standpoint. Like I don't feel like hops has definitely gone up, but not like yeast. Like I was paying what was it for White Labs yeast? Like the 001, I believe is what it is. Like $9. I think it's like $15 now. Within about the last year and a half. It's gone up a lot. So I went back to dry yeast, but dry yeast is almost doubled in price as well.
Okay.
So I need to start learning how to harvest my own yeast so I can save some money.
Yeah, right, exactly. Get your little
um,
starter.
yep, exactly. So do you have any favorite breweries in Wisconsin where you're at?
Favorite breweries, whoever is paying me at the time, no.
All of it. Good answer.
No. It does depend. I do love a spotted cow. I had some yesterday while I waited for my Super Bowl wings, to come out.
hmm hmm
But I'm it's like you like Coke from a can or Coke from a bottle. I like spotted cow from a tap. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah.
let's see. There's it kind of depends on who gets the medal for what. I think there's a
hmm
lot of breweries doing some kind of cool, bold, experimental things. I think there
hmm
are some really good, like Carbon 4 is one of the stalwarts of Madison and the surrounding areas. They were one of the first people around here to put really ostentatious art on a can, way back
hmm
in those days. And so um they kind of, I don't want to say started, but they were one of the first to do that sort of craft beer can art boom, putting a unicorn and a cat riding a unicorn with flames shooting out of his nostrils on the can. So um I love those guys, the Kogas that run it. They're good folks. Um yeah, there's just there's some solid, like, because of, I think it must be because of, the Miller, we're in Miller territory. We talked about lagers earlier. You just get some really good pilsners and lagers around here. It's just one of the things that everybody needs to have. And I've noticed it more here than I've noticed in Colorado. Colorado is, you still have them, but they're definitely more of the IPA kind of folks out there. Um,
Right.
there's a brewery in town that I did a campaign for a year or two ago called Alt Brew, and they are one of the only end-to-end gluten-free breweries
Interesting.
in the
Yeah.
country. There's Holidaily out in Colorado, and I'm sure there are more, but I know of Holidaily and Alt Brew. The owner's wife is celiac, and Every time I go in there, like you talk to the owner, and you get people from Chicago, you get people from, there was a guy that drove 5.5 hours one day to get, 10 cases of beer just because he was celiac. And if you have true celiac, this gluten reduced, stuff that they're doing actually doesn't cut it. I guess for some it does, for some it doesn't. But um, having something that's from A to Z gluten free.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a good catchphrase. A to Z gluten free. Um, it, it's obviously a lot better for you. And Lakefront Brewing out in Milwaukee. Those are, and they're right on the river,
Mm.
and just got a really good. They are one of the old. Been around for so long. They got all that market share. Um, I love, the owner's story. Actually, the best brewery tour I've ever had was at Lakefront Brewing. It was just very, like,
Okay.
approachable, very human, very understandable. This was before I knew anything about brewing. I went to Anheuser-Busch when I lived in St. Louis. I've been to the Coors Brewery, and it's all kind of that script, but I never really understood it until I went to Lakefront Brewing. So that always stands out, to me. Those are kind of some top ones out here for me.
So what did they do so that was so unique there at that brewery?
As far as the tour,
Yeah.
it wasn't the owner, but it was like one of the co-owners or the president who was giving the tour himself.
Interesting. Okay.
He was just there, and it was just the way that he distilled the information down. I hadn't really taken a craft brewery tour before. Again, I'd just gone to those kind of big macro tours, which is all very scripted, and we mash
Just
in
trying to
and,
get you
and we do
through.
this and we run right. But just hearing him kind of explain the actual process was really illuminating to me. There were kind of some parts that I understood from these macro tours, but some parts that I was curious about. And just I didn't even have to ask or anything. It was just kind of part of the tour,
Hmm.
that he really dove into the specifics around hopping and mashing, lautering, and all these light bulbs went on in my head kind of thing. So
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
always stuck out to me. And I let him know when I met the other owner recently. I was like, one of the best damn brewery tours I've ever had. So I appreciate that.
So yeah, mine was Holland and actually in Asheville. And what stuck out to me the most is they actually had a tray of the hops you could pick up and smell.
Yeah.
They had the grains you could actually pick up and taste, so you knew what that was. This is before I started even home brewing, and I didn't realize the subtle differences in the different grains. And my favorite beer from them is the Gaelic Ale. It's just a really unique and it's a beer I have to have on tap. Like if I had it in a can, a bottle, it's okay, but on tap it just about it just tastes so much better. And that tour was very slow paced. It was great. You went to every single, tank or vessel or what you got to look at everything. And he went through all of it. And the other cool thing is you got 2 free pitchers of
Yeah.
beer. And it was just me and my oldest son, which was great because we basically got a pitcher each. So, that definitely stood out. The cool thing was right next door to them is a distillery. And that distillery at that time, of course, it's not anymore because they got too big, but they were doing, the guy from Moonshiners, Tim, and his
Hmm.
partner was it Pickle, I think his name was, or Tickle. So it
Yeah.
was making his peach uh moonshine there. So I got to taste that before it actually, like, I think it was on the shelves, but it wasn't really distributed very far. So it was kind of cool to go to a place that was actually, like, kind of like you said earlier, that was making other people's beverages because they did their own whiskeys, and stuff like that, but they were contracted to make Tim's version of the peach moonshine, or whatever, which was phenomenal. That was such a very good, and yeah, I don't see it anymore. I haven't seen it in years. Actually, it's been a while. Because I know they all merged, they all became Sugarland. Sugarland does their own stuff now as well, and that's a whole interesting world. If you ever get a chance to come down to Pigeon Forge, or even actually no, you want to go to Gatlinburg. In Gatlinburg, you can do a bunch of different distillery tours. You got Old Smoky, which is native to Tennessee. Sugarland, I can't remember exactly where they're out of, but you get to do their tour. Um, Jim Beam was there. There a bunch of cideries there. So like Gatlinburg has turned into a tasting room. Again, in the past 20 years, there was no tasting rooms. There was like bars, restaurants, and that was it. Now there's tasting rooms everywhere. So if you're
Nice.
into something, they got it.
Love it.
It's
Love
a
it.
great place to go too, especially since you said you have a younger child. Pigeon Forge is like Oh man, it's built for kids. I mean, there's
Oh yeah,
all
I remember
sorts of
going as
stuff
a
down
kid when I
there. Oh
lived in
my
Nashville.
gosh.
I
Oh
have
man.
fond memories of Pigeon Forge as well.
So much stuff to do, yeah. It's probably, I'd say, 10 to 11-hour drive for you. I'd say pretty much a
Yeah.
straight shot down for the most part. You just want to get on 75 and just keep on trucking till you hit it, for the most part. So is there anything else that you want to like enlighten my listeners about the video or marketing side of
Yeah, there's one kind of last thing that stuck out to me, and when I saw your posts, I kind
Mhm.
of connected the home brewing with what I do. Um, Another gig that I had, a client I had, was craft beer and brewing. They will have, I believe it's twice a year. I don't know at what cadence they're doing it anymore, but they'll do these new brewery kind of incubators, or essentially 2 days, 3 days. The one I went to was in Austin. A lot of times they do them in Colorado just because it's closer for everybody. It's where they're based, but it's a couple day long intensive sessions where you'll there was a marketing panel that obviously I was a part of. There's somebody to talk about distro, there's somebody to talk about um the science, QA and
Yeah,
yeast and
yeah.
everything, and it's all geared around, if you want to start a brewery, here's the smartest way to do it. Here
Mm,
are some good starting tools. And I left, and a lot of the attendees left with just being armed with all of these different do's and don'ts, and we thought we were going this way, but it turns out that we shouldn't. And having talked with and networked with all these different,
mhm,
these breweries are either pre-funding, or they're they
mhm,
haven't even started yet. They're very, very, very new. So you kind of build that network of people who are in your same boat, basically. They're
mhm,
but
mhm.
he's across the country, or she's in New Jersey, or whatever. But you're kind of all going through it together. So I would just encourage folks to look that up. It's the name escapes me. I should have looked it up before I came, but it's put on by Craft Beer and Brewing. It's like a new brewery incubator program. Uh,
Right.
I loved it. It was a blast.
That sounds awesome. Hey, I would love to like put a little fly on the wall that one. That's what I'm kind of hoping to, I get to learn a lot more when I go to the Homebrew Associate or Homebrew Con. Hopefully, I
Mhm.
can learn a lot of stuff. Make a lot of new contacts, people I could talk to, maybe get on the show and stuff like that. But I definitely want. I mean, this whole industry is so fascinating to me. The hobby is fascinating to me. It's so interesting. I've read. I'm reading the Gordon Strong book right now.
Mm.
So hopefully I'm gonna try to get better at my own craft. Yeah, there's just so much information out there. I just want to get a hold of. I want to talk to like subject matter experts, authors. One thing I really want to talk to, and I kind of looking at my board over there, so my eyes are kind of drifted, is I want to talk about fermentation and religion. I think that's would be to me a fascinating conversation because almost every religion, except for like a couple, there's always some type of fermentation beverage involved, right? Wine or pseudo beer or whatever. You can go back to like the Mesopotamia era. They made a porridge that was maybe a 0.5%, alcohol level. Oh no, it wasn't going to get you drunk by any means, but still, it was fermented. I'd be kind of curious to learn more about that. Talk to professors and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So hopefully, this homebrew con will kind of lead me into that direction of finding more individuals to talk to.
I love it.
So I do want to talk about your homebrew experience. You said that you shot a video for the Brewers Association with the McFarland Hop Slingers we just talked about a little bit ago. But you also mentioned they gifted you an entire homebrew setup from old parts. I'm kind of curious how that conversation gets started and what kit did they build you at the end of the day?
Oh God, how did that conversation get started? I know the head guy, Garrett. He's a wealth of information. He's a text me at any time kind of thing with beer questions. And
Oh, that's cool.
he gets really, really deep into the data and numbers and everything, flock rates and all this. He's got this massive massive Google sheet of data just for home brewing, water temp and all. So I'm sure it came up, about wanting to start home brewing, or wanting to experiment with it. Just eh, as you're probably aware, in the hobby, you upgrade and your igloo cooler now sits in a closet somewhere, and your old, five, your 10-gallon boil kettle because you upgraded to a 15, whatever it is, uh, just kind of sits around. So it was basically um, somebody in the hop slingers, had posted like, "Hey, does anybody need this? Want this?" And it was just essentially all in one. It was that igloo mash tun. I've got two boil kettles. The propane burner was in tubes, hoses, everything
Oh yeah.
needed, stir, mash paddles, everything needed. I had a hydrometer, that they gave
Oh
away.
yeah, that's
So,
cool.
it was just kind of an all in, meant to be an all in one. It was piecemealed together through other parts, but, heck, when I was brewing, on Thanksgiving, and he gave me a bunch of, the 12-ounce bottles, but I'm kind of reading more, and I'm like, "Hey, does anybody have, any of those swing top, those big Grolsch, like,
Mm,
swing top bottles?" And he was like, "Yep, yep, come on by." And I've got more swing top bottles than I know what to do with now. So,
mhm.
I attribute that to the homebrew community period, just being supportive, but, again, also that sort of Wisconsin hospitality, kind of being open to sharing and just wanting other folks to enjoy, what they do.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was the first beer that you ended up brewing?
Well, that's a great question, Jeremy, because there's the first beer that I brewed, and then there's the first beer that I successfully
Okay.
brewed and bottled. So,
So we talk about the zero gravity disaster first. Okay. So
yeah,
what
my
happened there?
my first attempt was 2 Octobers ago,
Okay.
and just it was like I had the equipment for a couple months and got the wild hair to start. Went with the I forget what it was called, like the Freedom Pale Ale or whatever, the standard. You can find it pretty easily.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm just saying I'm out of the
Um,
box. Yeah.
Right, but it was it's an all grain setup, so I got my malt, my hops, and everything, ready to rock. Everything was going as well as it could. I was texting Garrett, like I mentioned earlier, and, did the initial, boil. Obviously brought the water up to temp, stuck all the grains in there, tossed, the water and the grains into the igloo. um yeah, when I took my initial, gravity reading, out of I sparged, did all that, and I even had the boil started. Took some gravity readings, obviously let it cool down, and 0. It was like 0 IG. There was nothing going on. I'm like, "Okay." So now I have this to, like, troubleshoot. Like, did I get like, I know I didn't get it, I didn't take it off the top. I made sure it was a pretty good sample. Fast forward to, sending Garrett photos of this, that, the other
Hmm.
thing, and, um, I dug into my mash tun and sent him a photo of my grain, and I was like, "Does this need to, like, my grain wasn't milled." It's like I just stuck the unmilled grain in there, without realizing or remembering. I don't know if it's just that was a piece of knowledge that dropped off from me, I guess, was I sort of just assumed that, it would soak in and
Hmm.
do all the things that it needed to do. Nope, you gotta actually chop it up and grind it
Yeah,
out. So,
crack it a little bit.
yeah. But
Yep.
in the grand scheme of things that can go wrong during a brew day, like, that was, there's so many things that can go wrong, and to have something that's pinpointed like that is pretty I hear is pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, a buddy of mine just did that. I want to say 3, 4 months ago, and he's been brewing for quite a while as well too. So he bought some grains from an old homebrew shop where he's from, and he dumped it in his kettle, get things going. It's like, man, he had a little bit of gravity, but it was pretty low overall. I was like, what's going on here? This and then he scooped it up. Like, oh, these are not even. They're not. This hasn't been milled. So he hurried up and
Ugh,
grabbed some dry malt extract and started pouring it in there just to get something
yeah,
going right because he's already started. He's invested. Time's already been going on. So
yeah,
he ended up saving it. I've not tried it yet. I think this is blonde ale. So I think I have to get a hold
yeah.
and see how that one actually turned out. So
I
okay. So the
was
one you
I
actually
was
did
so,
it
like,
turned.
I was so ready to, I was texting my uncle who's a home brewer. And yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you could put some DME in there, you could do," but I was just like, "I've been up since 6 a.m. I got stuff to do after this. Like, I gotta call it, unfortunately." So that ended up being a full on dumper.
Well, I've not had a dumper that way. But I've had dumpers from like infections or just didn't taste good. I've had one I talked about last week actually. I forgot about that story. I don't remember what style it was. I don't recall, but I knew I was excited to make it. I made it. I poured a pint and smelt it. It smelled fine. I took a drink. I'm like, this tastes kind of funny. This doesn't taste right. I don't
Mm.
know what's going on here. So I thought, well, maybe the glass. I don't know. So I grabbed another glass, did the same thing. Still smelled great. Tastes like Band-Aid. It's like, what the heck is Band-Aid? So I go to
Yeah.
Google, look up, we get Band-Aid flavor, da 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 da. I was like, there's really no fixing that. I was like, all right, dump that 5 gallons.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Good
I
times.
forget what chemical that, but I've heard, yeah, the Band-Aids is a
Yeah,
definite big
it's
off flavor.
pretty gross. Pretty
Yeah.
gross. So okay, so you've had your first day, not first day, first brew fail. Basically, it sounds
Yeah.
like. So the one that turned out, what style was that, or what did you land with?
Yeah, I did it on Thanksgiving actually of
Okay,
this past year. Just kind of my own little solo activity. I made an oatmeal stout. It was because it was
nice.
like it's stout weather, I want to do something. So yeah, went back to that shop and obviously made sure that the grain was milled. Picked out. I adopted a recipe that was already out there. I'm not
Hmm.
in the camp of completely just free handing it yet. Um, so they're called Wine and Hop Shop here in Madison,
Okay.
and they're awesome. They had a recipe, an oatmeal stout recipe. So I kind of
Hmm.
adapted that a little bit, made it my own, quote unquote. Um, yeah, it that turned out pretty well. It was pretty low ABV,
Hmm.
pretty low initial gravity, so didn't give the yeast a ton of headroom to play. So yeah, it turned out like 3.9%, which is
Oh,
good.
that's
It
not
was
horrible.
a
That's
nice
yeah,
like
crushable.
dry, yeah, a nice dry. Kind of it, I like milk stouts, but I also like, kind of the cleaner oatmeal stouts, which I made. And yeah, tossed some SO4 yeast in there from Safe Ale, and I had to, Google it because it was like done in 48 hours. It was done bubbling in 48 hours. Like, is it stuck? Is it no? It's just that yeast just moves. That yeast moves really quick, but also I didn't give it a ton of, again, sugar to play around with either.
Oh yeah,
But it
that
turned
could
out
be part
well.
of it. Yeah. Yeah. Did you add any yeast nutrient to it as well, or no?
I did not. I did
So
not.
that can kind of help a little bit as well too, to kind of help the yeast get going and last just a tad bit longer. Yeah, I've never had O4 turn in 48 hours, but I've had it done in less than 5 days for
Hmm.
sure. Like it is pretty quick. Um, Kvike yeast is like, I mean, you can definitely get a beer in 24 hours if it's warm. If you keep it at 90 degrees, I mean, you can get beer in 24 hours. Like it's, but I mean, that's what the yeast is known for. Like it's a Norwegian yeast that was made during the time when somebody passed away. They want to do like celebration of life basically, and this yeast was just used to like, I need to produce now. I have like 3 days. I brew, boom, boom, we're celebrating. So it's
Hmm.
kind of used to these really weird conditions, and that's definitely hit the scene pretty hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's on a. I don't know too many craft breweries that use it because it's not cheap. I know a lot of homebrewers that use it. Like I'm one of them. I like it for ciders because it doesn't add any extra flavors to it. Like most yeast has some type of flavor to it. Kvike leaves it's pretty neutral for the
Nothing
most part.
there.
So if you want to make like a hard cider, I make the most is I have the summer cider which is like strawberries and lemon peel. I really enjoy.
Nice.
And if I've tried other yeast and it always imparts something, but I use the like Kavaikas that is done within like a day or two. But
Hmm.
I actually tag and taste the strawberry lemon throughout the whole keg. Like it doesn't change, it doesn't alter. Which so if you want another simple recipe, that's one right there. It's really
Love it.
easy. You
Love it.
don't have to do anything expensive. Just go to Walmart and go buy some cheap, strawberries from their freezer section. Right? You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. I did that once by accident. I went to Scott's, which is our local farm here, and I think I ended up paying I want to say upwards to almost $40 in strawberries, where you usually spend like $6, $7 at
Yeah.
Walmart, just because they're homegrown.
And it made
Was it
no
any
difference.
better? Not
Yeah.
really,
Made
but I
no
support
difference.
local, so that's all that matters.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah, so you did that. So I'm gonna kind of get to like a little rapid fire questions, just kind of fun little first thing that comes to your mind, just kind of give me like a quick little
Dig
answer
it.
to it. Or you can give a little explanation if you want to. A lot of people do anyways, but here we go. Hazy or clear? IPA or lagers?
Lager.
Lager. Bottle or keg? So making videos or just doing the brew tours?
Videos.
Best piece of free equipment that sorry, best best piece of free equipment that you got for your current setup.
Video or brewing?
We're brewing. Sorry. Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's try video next.
Best piece of equipment. I didn't even know
Yeah.
until I had it, but I had one of those bottle filler stick the bottle filler, and I didn't know I had it obviously until I started bottling, and I thought I was gonna have to stick the hose in there and everything, and I
Mm,
look in, and that's what that piece of brass was for. Yep, stick that thing
yeah.
right on the end.
Oh, yeah. That's a lifesaver for sure. Okay, for video.
For video, best piece of
Yeah.
free gear. Oh god, no video gear is free. Say that. Good shoe insoles. How about that? 'Cause I'm walking around all.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine how much you walk around. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm a programmer, so I don't move a whole lot. Let's see. One brewing trend you would like to see go away.
Brewing trend I would like to
Yeah.
see go away is, oh gosh, the just the heavily adjuncted stuff, the big creamy crazies,
Okay.
not my thing.
There you go. Perfect. Is there one you like to see come back?
The Reinheitsgebot maybe, just like the more clean,
Mm. Hmm.
clean beer rules. Obviously, a lot of breweries are doing, they have got their clean beers, but
Yeah, I'm starting to see some of those clean beers become pretty interesting. I feel like they're starting to mess with those a lot as well too. Like I've been seeing a lot of like heavy hop pilsners, which are okay, but sometimes I just want a pilsner. I just want a clean,
yep.
crisp pilsner. I don't want to be sucking on a hop cone as I'm drinking it. Let's see. I did have one more on here. I'm kind of jumping around, trying to mix it up a little bit. Oh yeah. So which is harder, marketing or brewing?
Marketing.
And let's
It's both
see.
if you follow your systems and your processes, though.
Yeah.
It's about the same, but there's a lot more variation in marketing. I'll say that.
Since you did your oatmeal stout, what's the next beer on your list to make?
I want to do a collab with my girlfriend and I. She's a big IPA gal,
Okay.
and I think it's either going to be a really fun activity or we're going to break up over it. So we'll see how that goes. Uh,
Fair enough. Does she like the high IBUs, like they're like really strong
Not
grapefruit
really,
ones,
not
or
really, really
okay?
strong, but she likes Bells Too Hearted. She likes the
Okay.
talked about like the Cat and the Unicorn earlier.
Right.
She liked
Yeah.
that beer here in Madison. So
So
she does like the hoppies. I think we're gonna do like a pale ale.
so more like a pale. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I'm making this weekend, Valentine's Day. Actually, I'm gonna make a hazy pale ale for a homebrew competition. I've never made one before, so should be about 38 IBUs. I think is kind of what I'm aiming for. And I'm using, I think it's Aline or Lena is the hop. I think it just got
Hmm.
named about a year ago.
Oh,
It was
Alora?
like, huh?
Is it Alora hop?
No, it's E yeah, Elena,
Right.
ELANI. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it has like notes of like papaya in there and there's some other
Dig it.
stone fruits. So I'm gonna try that out. All
Dig it.
right, so I'm gonna get to like the wrap up section here. If you know of anybody that would like to be interviewed next, you can go ahead and give them my information.
Of
I'd
course.
appreciate that. Just kind of out a little bit. If you want, you can go ahead and plug your socials if you want, and I'll definitely put them in the description as well.
Yeah. Fullpourmedia.com. It's at fullpourmedia on Instagram. I will say we're not super active on Instagram at the moment. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. My name Bryant Vanderweerd on LinkedIn. That's where I'm focusing a lot of my energy with the marketing directors and marketing folks being on that platform. But yeah, we are Full Pour Media on any and all of the channels.
Perfect. Is there any upcoming video projects that you're working on that you would like to share?
It is the season of RFPs right now. I've never received so many RFPs, RFQs
Really nice.
in in history. And that's full pour on the full pour side, but also on just myself as a video freelancer side. We just finished a campaign that's, I believe, going live sometime in early this year. It's They're a client I met through the beer industry, but it's
Mm,
adjacent. It's water, kind of water treatment and everything. So that's a nationwide, and possibly because the client is in Sweden, so could be around the world. It's kind of public awareness campaign about water circularity. We went out to California last summer and
mhm.
shot at one of the water treatment plants out there, and so that was a client that I met through. They have a it's basically their
Yeah.
food and water division. So we did the beer campaign for them a couple years ago, so they tagged us in for this as well.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so exciting. Yeah. So I guess you get to travel a lot as well too. I guess my last question.
A fair amount, yeah. It picks up. I'm looking to see what kind of March and April and May are feeling like
Mm-hmm.
and looking like right now. Obviously, with CBC in April. That's something that
Mm.
we'll be out there for, and that's always a beast of a week for me. I'm going to Jamaica the next week after that, though. So
My
I guess
gosh, yeah,
I get some
busy.
time off. Yeah, I get some time
So
off.
busy regardless.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say there's 1 to 2 solid kind of travel trips a year. I do enjoy traveling. I'm not sick of it yet, so
There you go.
I'm certainly open to doing that, especially in this business.
Oh yeah, it'd be really cool. Like especially if you got the opportunity to go to some of the old world breweries and stuff like that. That'd be really cool to check those out. Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. You definitely gave me a lot of insight on the marketing side of things. I didn't realize there was so much involved and how much how many services you actually offer to individuals. I thought was pretty interesting as well
Yeah,
too. And I feel like you even gave like a little bit of advice some people could hopefully gain from this as well and maybe reach out to you and help them out even further.
I appreciate you having me on, man.
All right, Bryant. Hopefully, I'll see you here in a few months down in good old Asheville.
Absolutely.
Until then, sir, you have a good evening.
See ya.